I mean, I guess quickly too, because I was talking about it earlier with the Phoenix Suns deal with Chris Paul. Two questions from it already been discussed a lot by people. A, did Phoenix overpay for Chris Paul? B, does this give Phoenix 3 All-Stars almost guaranteed this year? Or do you think Devin Booker is the only All-Star from that team likely?
Yeah, it's a good question. So they're going to be a better team, Chris Paul. Did they overpay? Oubre's solid. I think they showed in the bubble last year when he got hurt that he's not critical to this team. He's fairly expendable. I know he's going to Golden State now, but he's going there to fill a hole because there's an injury. He hasn't shown that he's consistently going to put up 15 points per game for the rest of his career. Meanwhile, Chris Paul, he might be 35 years old, 34, 35 years old. He's probably the smartest mind in the NBA outside of LeBron James. Maybe Rondo's real close, but Paul has been consistently top point guard, if not top 3 to top 5 point guard since he got in the league. And having Paul there definitely adds a lot of legitimacy. Do I believe that he's going to be an all-star this year? I think if they're a winning team, then yes. Then I think that they're going to at least have 2 all-stars there. I think if they go into the all-star break, say 5 to 7 games above 500, that'll be fantastic. And I think that's actually a possibility. Do I think a third all-star is going to be on that team? I'd take a big trade. That would probably take them trading away Ayton. Which we all know they're pretty high on.
But that would be the third All-Star, presumably, would be DeAndre Ayton.
I don't think he's there. I just don't think he's there. I think if they have a third All-Star, I think it's because they traded away Ayton and they brought in a better player. Or they brought in a proven player. I don't know who else if they can sign. I'd love Hayward to be there. I think he would add another wrinkle to that team. But I think if they do get a third All-Star, it's because they traded for someone. I think that would be a mistake. I do think that Ayton will be an All-Star in this league. I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he's on the same caliber as players like Jokic and Embiid, Davis. I don't think it's even close for that matter. And he will get there eventually, but he's just not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to, to answer the first part of my own question, did they overpay? I think you make a good point of, not only did, yes, they got one of the smartest minds in the league, and what they got rid of necessarily, Oubre is a good player, but was that his kind of plateau? Very likely. Did he even maybe overexcel last year? Maybe, because he did have his. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, a lot of everything that was happening was based off how they played in the bubble. But with that too, I think management obviously said, okay, we're obviously on the rise, even with the picks for trading. For them to be worth anything, they need to be a steal of a pick, because it's likely going to be somewhere between 14 to 20 for the next 2 to 3 years if we keep this team. So they need to draft very, very well for that pick to even have value. So I think for them flipping it, they don't necessarily have a lot of value in that pick. Internally, they don't feel like they do. So I don't think it's a huge burden on them. So I don't think they really necessarily, again, were worried about that. They obviously get Chris Paul. I think likely, like you said, if they're winning, I think Chris Paul is barely likely an all-star, mainly on the fact that the fans voted, and Chris Paul is so liked, or not only by fans, but by players around the NBA too.
Like coaches.
Exactly. So I think it's Chris Paul. I think honestly, as long as he plays pretty much every game and the Suns are at least 500, he's probably an all-star. DeAndre Ayton, I think, has a very good chance as well, to be honest. I mean, last year he was 18-11, and like we were talking about out there too.
Really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, center isn't that deep at the same time, though. I mean, Rudy Gobert is one of the best centers, especially if we're just looking at centers in the West. And I mean, statistically, DeAndre Ayton is technically more appealing to him. And when it's a fan vote, that does stand out a lot. And if we have a team like the Suns who are so exciting and so many bandwagoners are going to jump on because they only
they're winning.
Bubble, not only that, but just because they only watch the bubble, and that's there. But every year, there is a group of fans that comes in around playoff, and that's all they did see. So now they're Suns fans, kind of thing. So when you have DeAndre Ayton maybe putting up 20 and 12, 20 and 14, even maybe, and he's not. He might not stretch the floor. He might not do little things that matter game to game, but he's putting up the numbers that might alone make him an all-star, especially again because center's not so deep.
That's depends, right? We do have some centers that put up empty stats, though.
Yeah.
So we look at someone like Whiteside, Drummond, they average that 18 and 12, 18 and 13, 15 and 14. They're not all-stars most years. Sometimes they are. Drummond has been. Whiteside, I believe, have once. But you're right. For the fact that Ayton scored, you're right, 18, 11 and a half. If he can get that point per game up to 20 or over and still have 11, 12, 13 rebounds per game, then he has a good chance at it. I think the one way that would really help him is that Chris Paul trade, though. Chris Paul will be able to man the point. Rubio's a great point guard. Actually, we both talked about him on the side that Rubio is one of the best passing point guards in the league, most underrated point guards in the league. But Chris Paul has a certain level of IQ to him. He'll be able to get Ayton some shots that he just never had before. But with that being said, I think the big benefit from Chris Paul is him going in there and being able to play defense and show these guys how to play. He might not be the fastest anymore. He probably can't stand in front of Westbrook. But he knows how to position himself, and he takes a high level from everyone that plays on this team. If you're going to be out there, you're going to work your fucking ass off. And I think that's one thing that he showed in OKC is that no matter who's on the court with them, they're going to be playing defense. They're going to be playing hard every minute. Gallinari had the best year of his career last year with Paul. I think that's something that if Ayton can step up that defensive IQ and still get the points per game up to at least 20, then yeah, he does have a good chance. I think there's so much more to him as a player, though.
Yeah, there definitely will be. But like just looking at it too, I mean, every year it seems like Devin Booker is improving little by little, and it seems like you said very unlikely that he's not going to develop more under Chris Paul. And same goes for Ayton.
It's crazy
years, but he has developed over from year to year. And I mean, with Paul, it'd be very unlikely for him to regress, I would think. So I'm still going to lean towards, honestly, if they are around 500 or over, I think it's honestly very likely they have 3 All-Stars this year. I think a lot of people like that team, and people are going to bandwagon them pretty hard.
I hope so. They're an exciting team. Devin Booker deserves it. The guy got 78 points a couple years ago, and he's still not even considered a top 3 player in his position. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, it could be because he does split time between point guard and shooting guard too. But yeah, I mean, look at what James Harden was before Houston, right? Devin Booker is definitely better than what James Harden was in OKC.
100%.
So, I mean, who knows what Devin Booker's ceiling is?
He's still young. No, that Phoenix team definitely has a lot ahead of them right now. And as much as we say, like some people could say it was an overpay to get Chris Paul, the real overpay to get Chris Paul was Houston physically overpaying Chris Paul. That was the big issue. Overall, Chris Paul's a great player. He's still one of the best point guards in the league. If you have a chance to get one of the best point guards in the league for someone like Kelly Oubre, who is maybe top 15, top 20 at his position at most, you do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like I said to you too, they got Oubre for Ariza. So I mean, technically they flipped Trevor Ariza for Chris Paul. And I mean, if you get that offer, you take that deal 100% of the time.
Do they each play their separate role? Yes, but Chris Paul plays the star role.
There's other Trevor Arizas in the league. There's not other Chris Pauls, to be honest.
Exactly. That's what it comes down to. And Chris Paul is one of the most respected players. He's actually the president of the Players Union.
Yep.
So he's got a great mind out there, and he's definitely going to whip that team into shape. And that's what they've been missing the most, has been someone to go there and just lay down the rules, and you play this way. That's one of the reasons why Toronto's so good. That's the culture they have there with Lowry. So that's kind of mentality I think Paul's going to bring there. Same thing he brought to OPC last year.